Hey everybody, Daniel Fusco here, and welcome to today's 2-minute message. So God uses different people in different ways, and God uniquely gifts people in the ways that he does. One of the things that people tell me, and I'm honored that I hear this, people say, hey, Daniel, you're super positive. How do you do that? Now, listen, I want to be honest. I don't always feel super positive, but I actually believe that growing in positivity is a good thing. Why? Because the first step I think is so important. I learned this from my bride, Lynn. God is not negative. Go ahead, say it. God is not negative. I learned this. My wife is such an amazing person. I remember I was working out, and every time I would work out, she would say, how was your workout? Because my wife really enjoys it, and I'd say, I hate working out. I'm like, oh, it's the worst. I'm so happy it's over. And then one day she's like, Daniel, how was your workout? I'm like, it's horrible. I don't like that. And she's like, Daniel, that's so negative. God's not negative. And at that moment, I got convicted in my heart. I'm like, my wife is so right. God's not negative. So why am I being negative? Now, here's the thing. The first thing you have to realize is that God isn't negative, right? But because we have the tendency sometimes to be negative, we actually need to call ourselves out on it. We need to ask the Holy Spirit to convict us in the ways that we're being negative, in the ways that we're being downer. Because what I always tell people is that being negative is a communicable disease. If you're talking with a group of people and someone starts being like, oh, this is so bad. Oh, this food is disgusting. Oh, I don't like that. That person is so mean. Before you know it, everyone's in that kind of like that negative space. But in the same way, positivity is also a communicable disease. And when somebody is upbeat, hopeful, positive, that gets passed along as well. So I think the first thing is you have to ask the Spirit of God to convict you. I don't always feel positive. Believe me. It's so true. I don't always feel positive, but when I'm catching myself being negative, because I know God's not negative, I don't want to be negative either. And the world doesn't need more negative people. We need more positive people in the world because God's not negative. So first you have to be able to own the times when you're negative. Second, you need to realize, why am I being negative? What is it about? And a lot of times what I've learned is that my negativity is actually rooted in the wrong perspective about what I'm dealing with. See, sometimes in life, people can get you down, but then I remember that people are flawed, but Jesus is redeeming people. So I get focused on the flaws, I can get focused on the sinfulness, but then Jesus is like, but hey, I died and rose again, and I can transform anybody. So you can either focus on their sins, or you can focus on my potential to transform their life. Now right there, you move from the negative to the positive. Right? Both are true, but the positive is what God is up to in the midst of that. And so I think you need to look at your perspective. What are you dwelling upon? Now, I would also say that our perspective is shaped in a huge way by the things that we consume. So if you listen to a lot of negativity, if the music you listen to is negative, if the TV shows you watch are negative, if the people you hang out with is negative, it makes sense that you're negative. But guess what? If you read the scriptures, talk about a positive influence on your life. If you have people who are hopeful, joy-filled, people who are walking with Jesus, who see God transforming people's lives, that is actually going to adjust your perspective in a powerful way. And then finally, third, and I think this is super important, not only do we need to ask the Holy Spirit to convict us when we're being negative, because God's not, and not only do we need to look at our perspective, but finally, you need to realize that you are rubbing off on everybody around you, that you are a culture maker everywhere that you are. And you have to ask yourself do you want people to be as negative as you are? Right? Like when you're around someone who's negative, who drags you down, how does that really make you feel? Or do you want to be part of the solution? And what I believe is that we want to be seeing the world the way God sees it. God sees tremendous potential. He knows exactly what he's doing. He's not negative. And we want to rub off on people. And what I realize is that everybody is influencing each other every single day, but I want to be a positive influence. I want people to get their eyes on Jesus and off of all the garbage. I want people to see that God is a God of redemption, which means that God takes something that's messed up and he fixes it. And he doesn't fix it because he has to begrudgingly. He does it with joy. It says that Jesus, for the joy that was set before him, endured the cross, despising the shame, and is seated down at the right hand of the Father. So let's be positive influences in this world together. That's what I want you to do. First, I want you to share this video because listen, we live in a negative world and many of us are struggling with this, and we want to be more positive change agents. Now, in the comment section, I want you to tag somebody who is a great positive influence in your life and thank them for being a positive influence, and maybe share a story about how they positively influenced your life. And let's seek to step out in the same ways as the people who are doing that in our lives. God bless you today.